Good afternoon, Peas and Gravy, Peas Productions. I've been asked about drop blocks and HP, and so I'm just going to give a little heads up of what's going on and how it works. That's just standard valve. Obviously, I've took the internals out. That's just standard valve. I'm using a 2240 tube as a sample, and your valve will be in the gun like that, and then this is what's known as an eliminator. It's threaded, so it screws in that end. This eliminates the CO2 cart, and what happens is you screw it in, and then eventually it'll tighten up onto your seal, and that gives you a gas tight tube. Then what you do on that end, sometimes they've got a drop block fitting on, so you can fit your bottle directly on. They're great. They're excellent for that. That plug and play. Or you can put a tethered line on, and on the end of that tethered line you'll have a fitting like so, and this allows you then to have your bottle on, and you can place the bottle wherever you want. Obviously the length of your hose is limiting where you put your bottle. If you're on a shooting range and you're only getting sort of, I don't know, X amount of shots out of a 13 cell bottle, you can upgrade, which is what I've got here, to a 48. Same fittings, everything's the same except volume of air. Now if that's tethered and it's sitting on the ground next to you on a rucksack, and you've got a lead on it to your gun, you can play all day. You'll be out forever with the amount of air that thing can hold. Now that's pretty much a plug and play unit. That's so, as I said earlier, you'll have this fitting will be in the end of here. So when it all tightens up, your drop block is on the end, and you would fit your bottle like so to the end of that. Great. The only downside I've found with them, the limit power, because the air has to travel down the center here, and it's still only filling that valve. Now when you strike the hammer strikes the exhaust valve and opens it, you're getting that rush in there, but you've hardly got any pressure behind it because it's such a small airway. You've got no push, so you're quite limited in power. The way I prefer to do it is, obviously remove that. You modify, or manufacture, should I say, what's known as a disco head. These are in the disco rifles, and because the rifles are HP, I manufacture these. Put your O-rings on, fit it to the valve, like so, feed it down the tube, and then pin it, because I pin everything as a matter of course. Pin it to the tube so that there and there, that tube there and there, from there, that way is airtight. Nothing gets past them O-rings. And then you get a drop block. This is a replica of a 79, of an SMK 79. That's where it all started years ago. And you would fit this in that end of the tube. And then you've got a big plenum of air, which helps with a big push when you're releasing the valve. As I said before, you're limited by the amount of air down there as opposed to down there. So you get a lot more power out of your guns. Downside is, when you're fitting this to here, them threads in there have to be removed. They have to be taken off, because you cannot seal. You take them off about 1 inch till you get back to the steel, dress it off. You've got drill 2 holes in there to allow for fittings for the screws goes in here, and in it goes. Screw it up. It's sealed at that end of the tube, it's sealed at this end of the tube, and you've got a slug of air in the middle, which gives you a push when you're firing it. That's a standard drop. The downside of it is, when your bottle's on, like so, if you can look along the top end of that tube there, it's fouling here. So you struggle to take, when you got your breech and your barrel on, you struggle to take them off because of the foul. So what you have to do, you have to fit this to this empty, fit it to the gun, and then fill it. Because you can't fill it, you can't have that full, sorry, you can't have that full and then fit it to the gun because it fouls the barrel. Or you've got to take all the barrel off and put the breech on separate, which is a pain in the arse. It's not practical, shall we say. So what I've come up with Stu from GMAC, I asked him to do with some special ones, which he did. That's one there with a 10mm drop, which he made. Then it went to a 20mm drop. So there's variation. So the bottle sits lower. So the 10s, and then your bottle, as you can see, there's a clearance now. So you can fit your bottle, take it on and off without disturbing any of the gun. So that's what I find very, very useful. A slightly better drop. Now I've just had a load manufactured and they've just arrived. These are all 10mm drop, 4 O-rings. Because as most people know, GMAC, I'm not sure what's going on, but his sight's down. He's not answering his calls and that, so I had to get some made elsewhere, and that's these. Now, the only thing I will say is, if you're using a 2240, this is a 2240, and you chop it off, it doesn't really matter because you haven't got a foregrip or anything under here, just your barrel band. But on a 2250 or an XL, when you cut that off, you'd lose 25mm. That sits about there. So where your barrel band used to sit now sits there. Because of that, you can't use your foregrip. It doesn't fit, it doesn't line up with the holes. So what I like to do then is modify and put a Picatinny rail in here. So then you can put a hand grip in it, a pistol grip, or any other thing you fancy fitting. It just tidies that area up. Because that's the only downside when you chop them off. You lose your foregrip. Unless there's some way of modifying them, which I haven't come across yet. But for me, that's for power, that's the best way to go, but you've got to modify your tube. Plug and play, that's the way to go. Plug and play with one of these on the end. So there's 2 different ways to go. Well, 3 really, because you can tether it, but still ultimately it's HPA. Eliminator, because it eliminates the CO2, and you don't need the disco head, you just plug straight in the standard head. Or you go with a disco head and a drop block, seal a tube. You can achieve your 11 pluses, power no bother, where these struggle, and away you go. But once you cut the tube, there's no going back. That's the only downside. Cut that tube off, there's no going back. It's HP and that's the end of it. At least with the eliminator ones, you can unscrew it and you're back to square one, and you can still use your fore grip and your barrel band in the correct place. Also I forgot to mention, you can also add in an on and off valve. This is just a straightforward on and off valve. There's nothing elaborate about it. You just put your bottle in, it'll show you what's in it, you open it and close it, and then you can release your bottle and take it off and keep the gun as is. I don't usually use them. I just think it's just more clutter, more bling that it doesn't need. But people do use them. They are handy for remote bottles more than anything. I think that's about it. Any questions, any queries, shout up. I've got drawings on a PDF somewhere of this setup, so if anybody wants them, please shout up. Any information you need, as always, I'll try my best to help you. Cheers.